Ooh, something interesting just happened, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Attack on Cowboys. Hopefully, you brushed your teeth and got that halitosis out your mouth before you clicked on this video. And if you didn't, it's cool. Leave a like while you're going to go pick up that toothbrush. And let's talk about Jaylen Ramsey is getting traded by the Miami Dolphins. And oh, look at that. The Dallas Cowboys are connected to him. And actually, it's for a legitimate reason this time. It's not just the classic connect the Cowboys to any and every player that comes out. Let's discuss Jaylen Ramsey and how he actually could be exactly what the Dallas Cowboys need. Like, exactly. Let's get right into it. Be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content. All right, see here, Ian Rappaport is reporting the Dolphins and 7-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jaylen Ramsey are mutually set to explore trade options, and it wouldn't be a surprise if he played elsewhere in 2025. Per me and Tom Pelissero, Miami and Ramsey, due $25.1 million fully guaranteed this season, could be parting ways. Now, that $25.1 million fully guaranteed number is actually $21.1 million because Miami actually already paid a $4 million roster bonus. So, for them to trade a Jaylen Ramsey, I'm going to tell you one thing already. Off rip, it would be a cheaper deal. It wouldn't cost a first, second, or third round pick to get Jaylen Ramsey, and the reason for that is his price tag. That price tag is the exact reason we've seen guys like Deebo Samuels and some of these other receivers get traded and they not have all that much value that you would think that they would have, right? You would think that Deebo at least garner you like a first or second or something like that. No, he got you a fifth or whatever it was because of how much money he was owed, and Jaylen Ramsey is going to be in a similar situation. The beautiful thing about this is the fact that Jaylen Ramsey is actually signed through 2028, okay? So it's not like this would be a trade that you would make and then all of a sudden you would have to turn around and pay him immediately. And the 2028 thing is very, very important because that actually lines up exactly with the contracts of a Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and some of the other more prominent players on the Dallas Cowboys. Osa Odigizua, all those guys are on like 3 or 4 year type deals, and everyone's deal is going to be coming up in 2028. So Jaylen Ramsey actually fits perfectly in the timeline and in the structure of how this roster is being built right now. And honestly, he fits the exact profile the Cowboys have utilized to go out and get these other trades. He's likely going to cost maybe a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, maybe a couple of those type of picks. On top of that, he's a former player that the Cowboys have shown interest in his draft. Kyer Elam, Kenneth Murray Jr., these are all guys that the Cowboys were like, hey, we like that guy. Jonathan Mingo, these are all guys the Cowboys were like, hey, we like that guy. And they did the same thing with Jaylen Ramsey, so much so to the point to where Jaylen Ramsey went on a pivot and he said this, quote, I was in that conversation of who was going to be the first defensive player taken off the board, and I just wanted to be it. But if it didn't happen, I always grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. Really, Titans and Cowboys. So if I go 4, that's like a dream come true. When I was on my visit to Dallas, they told me straight up to my face, if you're there at 4, we're taking you. But we don't think you're going to be there at 4, they said. We think the Chargers are going to get you at 3. But if you're there at 4, if you're on that board, we're taking you. All right, and remember, although Ramsey was still on the board, they ended up taking Ezekiel Elliott. And I think that may be one of them things where you just had two forces in that building, and it just probably came down to a Jerry Jones gut call right there. But hopefully, if Jaylen Ramsey isn't holding any, like, ill will towards the Joneses or the Cowboys for essentially lying to him right to his face, because that's what they did. They lied to the dude right to his face. God dang, Jerry, just messing up relationships. If Jerry didn't mess up Jaylen Ramsey's fandom of the Dallas Cowboys by lying to that man like that, this could be very, very interesting if we actually take a look at Jaylen Ramsey in current day. He only allowed an 89.8 quarterback rating when targeted last season. He had 2 interceptions, only allowed 3 touchdowns, only allowed 500 yards total, and played in all 17 games, played 96.2% of the snaps for the Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. So Jaylen Ramsey, he still is a good cornerback. He's still a really good cornerback in this league. Is he starting to lose a step? Yes, he's starting to lose a step. But that's why you got guys like Deron Bland and other guys that you kind of interchange out with a Jaylen Ramsey. But I think Jaylen Ramsey would absolutely satisfy that need that we have at outside corner. It would make us not have to depend on the Kyer Elam as heavily. And honestly, if Trevon Diggs were to come back at some point, whether it be this year or next year, if the Cowboys keep him on the team and you still have Jaylen Ramsey under control through 2028, if Diggs were to come back, then you could essentially use Deron Bland in the slot, Trevon Diggs and Jaylen Ramsey as your outside corners, and now you have the most devastating defensive back room in the National Football League just like that. Now, that is a pipe dream because the money would not work, and there's no way they're going to dedicate $70 to $80 million just in their cornerback room against the salary cap. So that's a pipe dream. There would have to be a casualty there, but I'm going to be honest, man, Jaylen Ramsey has at least played. He's played a majority of the games every single season that he's been in the NFL. He has not experienced any season-ending injuries or anything like that. He played all 17 games last season, which is more than we could say for any of the cornerbacks on our roster, right? So I like Jaylen Ramsey. I think he still has a lot of juice left, and I think that he fits the profile of the type of corner and the type of players that Brian Schottenheimer's made it very clear that he wants on this team, that the defensive coaches have made very clear that they want on this team. They said they want corners who are willing to tackle, corners who are going to be physical, and guys who can play press man coverage, and Jaylen Ramsey can do all of that, all right? And I say press man coverage because that's kind of stuff they're going to need in Eberflus's defense a little bit. But Jaylen Ramsey can do all of that. I really, really, really like this move. The history lines up. He loves the Cowboys, group of Cowboys fans. Cowboys showed interest in him before. Kind of fits the profile or the criteria that they met for all the other trades that they did this offseason. If you look at his NFL contract, man, like I said, he signed through 2028. The cap hits get a little bit disgusting, but maybe if you restructure those deals or whatever you may have to do, you can lower those cap hits a little bit. But either way, Jaylen Ramsey is out there floating around on the market, and I would love this man to end up in Dallas. This right here would be filling a huge hole, and it would be a move that I think actually moves the needle for the Cowboys. Absolutely. Not only would you be filling that cornerback hole, which I think is one of only 4 holes left on this team. Wide receiver 2, running back 1, cornerback, and then you got to get a defensive tackle or 1 tech. I think if you fill that cornerback hole, which is one of the most needy places on the Dallas Cowboys roster, with Jaylen Ramsey, oh, you're cooking with hot grease. And this is honestly, at his age, he's only 30, y'all. He's only 30. At his age, this is honestly probably a better move than even going out and getting Stephon Gilmore a season or 2 ago, right? So Super Bowl champion, brings that pedigree. We'll be able to bring that attitude, that culture to the locker room of no nonsense. We're going to smash dudes in the face, and we're going to be ultra competitive in ball. But the one issue with Jaylen Ramsey is, who is his agent? And he had something to say whenever David Mulligetta and Jerry Jones had a little spat of words. He had something to say, and he stood up for David Mulligetta, right? David Mulligetta is Jaylen Ramsey's agent, bruh. So, with that being said, and with David Mulligetta's relationship with the Joneses right now, that is probably the main reason it's not going to happen. Mulligetta's Ramsey's agent. He's not going to sit there and try to get him to Dallas. So I'm going to put my hopes back in my pocket, even though literally everything else, every box that you could want to check for if this trade is worth it, you could check that box with this Jaylen Ramsey trade. You could afford this Jaylen Ramsey trade with your salary cap right now, especially if you sign Micah Parsons, open up Morris. You can afford this move, y'all. Don't be mistaken. You can afford this move. And if you're going to pay $20 million to anybody, it's a guy like a Jaylen Ramsey, a Super Bowl winning, all-pro, perennial Pro Bowl cornerback who is still only 30 years old. Jaylen Ramsey, I really like this move, and I hope that Dallas can figure out a way to make it happen. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. How about them Cowboys?
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Woo,